Looking for chosen family, dark fantasy turned silly, raising a small child hijinks, and more Witcher content? Then you should probably give The Little Witcher a try. Quote, from the creative minds behind the Witcher video games, this delightful collection of comedic short comics about raising Ciri was published to mark the 10th anniversary of the release of Witcher 3, aka May 13th, 2025 by Random House Worlds. Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, he, she, and AI free. Why did I pick this up? Because The Witcher is one of my guilty pleasures and I needed something really silly to read and review. Clueless as ever, I happened across this title on my library's recent acquisitions page. Content notes for monsters, combat, and bear pelts. Scrolling through Goodreads reviews, it seems like this volume does appeal to the young children of Witcher fans, although it did leave some parents in a pickle because their young children wanted to play the video games or watch the series. So figure out what you're comfortable with first, I guess. The publisher's summary is, quote, in this delightful comic twist on the magical world of The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia is just your average monster-slaying dad trying to raise young Ciri to be a good kid while teaching her all about life as a Witcher. Young Ciri's extensive training at Kaer Morhen, the Witcher stronghold, includes everything she needs to learn to survive the many threats in her world, as well as all the antics and fun of a little girl bonding with her adoptive dad and family. With help from Geralt and Ciri's closest companions, including the motherly magic of Yennefer of Vengerberg and the wisdom of Uncle Vesemir, these adorable tales of a non-traditional family will make you laugh, make you sigh, and make you realize that raising a little Witcher is not that different from raising any other kid. Sure, bedtime stories might include warnings of monsters who fart when surprised, and Geralt might invoke the Witcher code to get Ciri to brush her teeth or clean her room, but even the formidable White Wolf knows when to surrender when it comes to bedtime battles or afternoon tea with the toys. End quote. Potentially controversial opinion incoming, but looking at the trajectory that brought us this short, goofy comic collection, I feel like The Witcher is really not a fandom for people who want a singular timeline and characters who are always one way or another, because between the original books, the video games, the prequels, the comics based off of the video games, the Netflix shows based off of the original books, and now this Little Witcher AU comic published by the video game company, at least partially inspired by the fan art, by the illustrator, originally inspired by the Netflix show, nothing lines up perfectly, and every iteration is expanding, interpreting, and anything besides regurgitating, which I definitely think is a good thing and actually part of what keeps me so engaged with The Witcher anyway. But I digress, focusing in on the illustrator, Giada Carboni, who also did background work on last year's Merry Little Batman animated film, is an Italian illustrator who started her work on the Witcher IP with a series of cartoon frames entitled Baby Ciri's Adventures, inspired by her watch-through of the Netflix series and still available on her portfolio website. Not exactly the same thing as The Little Witcher. It's very easy to see how her ideas and style mesh with the team at CD Projekt Red, got turned up to 11, and morphed into this final version, which is an interesting fandom/professional publishing crossover development, in contrast perhaps to all the Hermione fanfiction that is threatening all fanfiction by moving on to be professionally published without the permission of the IP holders and perhaps not filing off all the serial numbers much at all when it comes to marketing, ? At least I think it's in contrast. More similar to Jeffrey Brown's Darth Vader and Son, followed by Vader's Little Princess, although Little Witcher does a much better job of disrupting so-called traditional gender roles. I did revisit Brown's work to confirm my gut feeling, but rereading Vader's Little Princess was like scraping fingernails down a chalkboard, which does take us into the different intersections/identities/themes, etc. I like to highlight in each of my reviews. Kicking off with gender and sexuality, things could have gone very toxically hetero/cis. That certainly wouldn't be a first for The Witcher, and it's certainly not a full-on pride parade, but it doesn't take much to feature a heterosexual/cisgendered story and still be chill in my books, honestly. Key features that tip the scale for me: no angsting about Ciri doing, quote, boy things or, quote, girly things. The tough guys wear pink aprons from time to time and can be seen doing more, quote, feminine things. Dandelion doing dandelion things, and Yennefer is the most fully clothed as I've ever seen her. Not that she always has to be fully clothed, but given the innocent nature of this particular collection and they can do to desexualize all the characters, seems most appropriate. Although I did think one reviewer made an interesting observation expressing a frustration with the entirety of The Witcher and how sidelined Yennefer's relationship with Ciri can be. And looking at the other aspects I like to talk about in my reviews, for better or worse, disability/ability, place, race, and class all felt completely passed over and ignored. Although it does feel like par for the course with it being such a gag-focused short story collection. Wrapping up this review, before I give into the temptation of just info dumping on the entire history of the Witcher franchise, CD Projekt Red, Mythologies of Poland, and Andrzej Sapkowski's father's service in the Polish People's Army, I really enjoyed this little nugget of silliness, 5 stars, and if anything about this seems intriguing to you, I would highly recommend you pick it up as well. That said, I would not mark it as required reading. By all, keep reading, and remember all colonial settler states are a lie. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.